Jean-Philippe, I love your name and I love what you do. And I am so thrilled to have you on my podcast. We had such a great chat when you interviewed me, and I was so fascinated to be able to just listen to you and your wisdom that you bring. And you just have so much insight. Yes, I know you're a big business icon and you're a business guru and you're a massive leader, but you bring something to the table that I haven't heard that many leaders bring to the table. It's very unique. It's very beautiful. I mean, there's just so much. When I was making my notes and doing my research to prepare to interview you, my questions just got longer and longer and longer and longer. So there's 3 statements that you make, and that you make so many. And I'm just going to throw them out there, and then let's dive into the conversation. But these are things that really impacted me and actually helped me with what I do. And the first one was reframe how you do your job. And I just thought that is amazing, because there were certain things that I was doing I love everything I do with my work, but there was certain aspects that were becoming a bit troublesome. And I thought, hang on, let me reframe. Jean-Philippe, I reframed, and it changed and shifted how I'm doing things in that particular area. Then another thing is, you said, fulfill yourself and others, which is so beautiful, because all the mind, brain, body research shows that if you want to help yourself, you're going to help others. So you embody that so beautifully. And then also you made a statement, how do I learn to give up some of my control and trust my people, which you did in front of 23,000 people at a sales conference in a live coaching session, which was incredibly brave. And there's so much more, but those 3 really stood out to me. And I think that they're very practical, very hands-on, and embody you as a person. So that's a long introduction, but welcome. And thank you for all those great things.
Thank you so much, Carl. It's really a delight to meet you. I enjoy so much your session on my Positive Leadership podcast.
It was so great. I loved it so much. You're an incredible interviewer, and it comes through. You apply your experience into your interviewing skills as well, which is really great. Okay, so when I look at your career and I listen to you talk, that your positive psychology comes through, positive leadership, there's courage, authenticity, so many beautiful things. So I'd love to start by just asking you to talk about 2 things that you talk a lot about, and that is innovation and courage. So before we dive into innovation and courage, please just tell my listeners, even though they've heard the intro, just tell them a little bit about you and why innovation and courage is such a big part of your approach.
Very interesting question. Very interesting choice of words actually coming together for the first time. I had this combo of courage and innovation. Let me just say a few words about myself. So I'm someone who's been passionate for technology and innovation indeed for more than 40 years. I just celebrated my 40 years with Microsoft. One company, one life. And I've been blessed enough to join Microsoft when it was a startup company, less than 1,000 people. And when the PC was just coming to life. And I know many of the listeners might not even be born at the time, but I can tell you it was an incredible revolution. Fast forward, we are talking about Gen AI, and you and I discussed the impact of AI on psychology, coaching, and more. And I'm someone who's been always passionate about the impact of innovation on people, on society, on economy, and the way it can really help shaping again some progress in humanity as well. And so I'm someone who is both privileged to work on technology impact across the world, and I'm working at Nadella, who is a wonderful leader, but a positive leader is for short. And I'm also focusing on youth. I love working with young people from all walks of life, and I've set up foundations in my family, maybe some of that later. And that's something I love doing, and enabling, empowering young people to become social entrepreneurs, impact entrepreneurs. I'm also in love with education and the purpose of education. I'm the chair of a schema, which is one of the top business schools in France, which is global in many countries in the world. And I'm really thinking hard about what does it mean now when you're 20, 22 years old to go study in high ed. I think that experience has to change. And last but not least, I'm certainly very interested as well on the positive change happening in the world and the way we can enable that in everyday actions in our lives. So that's probably too long of an intro, but that's who I am. I grew up in the south of France, in Nice, for those of you who know the French Riviera. But I've been a global citizen, traveling to 110 countries during my life.
Well, and now you hit up, 40,000 people in Microsoft now, from 1,000 to 40,000?
220,000 now.
220,000 and a
Yes,
sales
yeah.
force 40,000. Is that correct? Or
That's
something?
correct. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's incredible, and you've been there for 40 years, and that says something. So there's the courage aspect and the innovation aspect. And you mentioned your in fact, there was a quote that when you interviewed him, there was a quote. What is that quote? Where is it over here? I'm trying to find
Well, I can help you. This is what I'm talking about. Think about it, because there's a quote I've been highlighting from Satya saying, "Don't wait for your next job to do your best work." And I love it because you know what I think. I mean, in life, you need to pick the activities, the jobs, the missions where you can bring your very best. And so don't be like, plan for the next career step, 5 steps ahead of time, or many discuss with young talent and other. And I understand why, by the way, it's a positive thing.
Yeah.
But just do your very best in what you do today, in the job you have, to get you to the next level, to get you to grow some skills and learn some more, so that actually you're going to be asked to do a bigger job as the next step, naturally.
And that's actually really important, because that is a bit. Do you find that a problem that in the younger generation today, is there a difference in, are people doing their best? Are they applying that, or is that something that you're finding you have to coach people to do? Because you're very much into coaching and helping people.
Yeah. It's very interesting. Again, depending on the type of young people you're talking about. I'm both coaching some young talents at Microsoft. I was actually just yesterday, as we record this episode together, in Sweden, and had a big round table with some young talents and established leaders who have 30 years of experience.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating to me the way young leaders are both somehow impatient of doing more, like in the next 6 months, 12 months, right? Because I'm waiting for the job to be completed, on one hand. On the other hand, I love that impatience in a way. So I understand why, in a way, they realize more than I've been probably early in my career, that, life is so precious. You don't want to wait for too long to bring your best. But again, I will connect the two comments I made before on bring your best now, which is what I would encourage young people to do. Don't necessarily wait for the next job and I have to move to bring my best. No, you can do it today and learn in any shape or form you can from other people, from outside, with your customers, the community, the people you meet, from your manager, hopefully great manager. That's something super important in your career as well, to get strong mentor, someone who grows you. And I think young people are also passionate about the impact they can have in their lives. Well, and that is big. I think it's been a big wake-up call for the corporate world for the last 10 years, probably during COVID. It's been a big alarm bell for many companies, which is people have been creating companies even more, and not just young people, because they didn't see a sense of purpose. They didn't see a sense of belonging deeply into the company's mission and into the company's life in their day-to-day life. So that's the kind of conversation I'm having with young people. And I think, funny enough, as you discuss all of that, you find their passion, you can really guide them and get them excited about the job they have today.
I love that, because yes, I agree with you. There's what I love when I talk to anyone, Gen Z, millennial, whatever generation, but younger generation, there's such a passion for cross-cultural diversity, acceptance, learning, excitement, acceptance.
Yes.
There's so much of that, and if one can capture that and, as you say, keep the learning going, it's a great combination. And that does require that innovation and courage, because it does take a lot of courage to innovate, because you don't know what you're doing. There's the unexplained, there's the unknown factor.
Yeah, I love that word courage, actually. Courage. I didn't respond completely to that intro that you made for me. I think I found in my life, and I think I found in many other experiences with people, that people who have the courage to move from outside of their, as we call it, right, comfort zone, to truly take some risk, not crazy risk, but risk to explore new skills, new jobs, new experiences, new countries, new spaces, new tribes, new communities. There's always a reward to that experience. And sometimes you learn painfully, of course, because we all sometimes fail and learn from that. But it takes courage just to start moving you into the next step, into pushing you into that area of lack of comfort, and be open to the unknown and what can happen to your life.
That's so important. And that's, if as I said, listening to you, that those are two words that really I would use to describe you, innovation and courage. And I like the word courage as well, because it's like fuel to make decisions to move forward, isn't it? I mean, if you don't, you can have all these great ideas, and people are really good at coming up with ideas, but people aren't always that good at maybe carrying those ideas through. And that's where the courage innovation link, I think, is so important and so linked to choice and free will and well-being.
Yes.
And so, I mean, they just spiral off each other, don't they?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Indeed. I think there's a lot of correlation as well with that positive circle you can create with people and their well-being and motivation in whatever they do in their life, actually.
And you talk a lot about using positive psychology in leadership, and you talk about the ripple effect, the ripple effect in positive psychology and the two pillars. I'd love you to talk a little bit. I'll throw two things at you there. So let's maybe take the concept of, what does it mean to be a positive leader? What is a positive leader mindset? And what does that actually mean? Because people hear that word. Jean-Philippe, we'll talk about it. They say it. It's a language in leadership. What does it actually mean, and how does it translate in this courageously innovative way in personal life?
Yeah, it's a great question. First of all, I must admit I've been learning myself, and I keep learning a lot over the past 10 years on that school of thought called positive leadership. I'm not the one who have invented that, by the way, of course not. And what I learned, Caroline, is that it is something that has come as a result of combining positive psychology that you know so well, neuroscience that you know even more in your profession, and also a number of other development, approaches like mindfulness, like well-being overall, which we will discuss, I'm sure, some more. And when you combine a few things together, it really gives an interesting combination as a framework for people to achieve more in their life. Fundamentally, I think when I think about a positive leader, who is that person? She's someone who can really do a great job, first of all, of knowing yourself. And I'm already starting with the me, which is the first circle, as you recall this, because in positive psychology, you've got the three circles. But let me start with the first one, me. And as we all know, and it's something I keep working on, self-awareness. Okay, who am I, Jean-Philippe? And what are my strengths? What are my key talents? What are also some of the derailers I may have and some of the challenges I have sometimes, as I don't do as well as I could or as I should. And I want to learn more about that. So self-confidence is another one, the me. I was just coaching a bunch of my young social entrepreneurs 2 days ago in the countryside of France. And it was one of what I call the 9 pearls of positive leadership, which are framed and developed through that foundation, which is self-confidence. And I was telling some stories about, myself losing self-confidence. And what I learned from that feedback loop I got on the energy it takes and the focus you need to have to build this self-confidence in yourself. And then it's also about creating and generating, imagining your positive energy in yourself. And of course, all the work you do, Caroline, with other researchers and practitioners, to me, are super critical. Because the good news for the listener, there are some tools, there are some ways to really be conscious about the positive energy we all have in ourselves, but somehow it's a hidden jewel. It's somewhere, but we don't actually nurture that. And so that starting point to me, the foundation is you need to have this solid health, mental wellness as well, connected to a situation. And then you get into the second circle, me and others, because we are here in the world to do stuff with others, not just to be with ourselves. Although we should love oneself as well. And when you interact with others, you have this ability to create that positive communication so that you can build with others something, so that you can get them to rally around a cause, around a mission, around a set of goals that you want to do together. And you have this power that I believe in a lot, which is becoming a coach for good. The way you make others shine, you make others grow, you make others learn and not just solve their problem. And last but not least, and I'll give you the full description now, the third circle is me and the world. Because at the end of the day, I think we are all born, my deep belief, to have a positive impact in the world.
Yeah.
And all of us can have a different way to do it, absolutely, because it's part of our uniqueness in the world.
Exactly.
But understanding, realizing during our lives when we can have a positive impact and how you can do that, depending on your passion and so on, is such a fulfillment and a moments of joy you can actually create for your life.
It's so important. There's a quote by one of a quantum theorist, and he says, and I quote it often, and it's not about you, it's about you in the world. You know, when you talk about the ripple effect, and also the thing is we can't help anyone else unless it's the oxygen mask principle. We have to be able to understand our own exactly. So part of that confidence thing comes with identity. Who am I, etc., etc. And you really good with that. I would love for you to tell the story. You said story of a time when you lost your confidence. People love stories. Do you mind to share that? The story that you said you shared with when you were coaching and how
I was actually a very young, early in career at Microsoft, okay, kind of 1 year in a job. And again, as I said before, Microsoft was a startup company. It was in France because I'm a French national. And I was quite confident, actually, quite self-confident, I thought. And I was participating to a meeting with all of our other employees, which was very small. We're like 12 of us, right, in a subsidiary, so a small team. Yeah. But I was really, bold enough to show my opinion to the general manager of the subsidiary and to other people on the things I agreed or disagreed. And I thought the meeting went super well until the very end, where general manager came to me and said, "Jean-Philippe, I'd like to talk to you." I said, "Okay, well, all right, of course, it's a pleasure." So I went to his office. His name was Bernard. He's Bernard, still alive, wonderful man. I learned so much from him. And Bernard told me, "Jean-Philippe, I like the fact you participate and you're active, teams discussion, wonderful. But you know what? There's been a problem in the way you actually participate." I said, "Really? What is it?" He said, "Your smile." I said, "Okay, wow, my smile?" "Yeah." I said, "Your smile?" "Yeah, because from time to time," he told me, "your smile seems a bit sarcastic. It seems a bit skeptical about others." And, it was a big mash in my head when he told me, "Wow, okay." Wow. Because I kind of love smiling, but at the time, I didn't appreciate, actually, of course, that body language is so critical. And a smile can be viewed and can be done so differently. And having a candid smile, a smile that comes with authenticity, which is true, which is real, is very different than a smile, which obviously was what I did a couple of times during the meeting, which didn't seem to be genuine enough for people. And to me, I was young enough. It was a big kind of revelation. I think, wow, I need to ask for more feedback, first of all. And I need to get that. And it went back into my self-confidence. Because, of course, for a few weeks, I was a bit down, I can tell you. I say, okay, correct. What can I do? And hopefully, with some mentorship and others' guidance, I could, of course, recover from that and hopefully find my way to have a real smile, I guess. More funny.
Now, that took courage and innovation, if you think about it, because it takes courage to receive feedback, to then say, okay, is this good? Is this something I should learn from? What can I learn? Even if you don't like the person or it may be relevant, it's still something that we need to grapple with. And that takes courage to grapple with that. And then there's also the courage in the fact that it's not nice to get any kind of negative feedback.
No, No,
it's horrible. It's awful. But it's something that we do need, and we need to be able to deal with it. So there is a lot of courage there. We can either break or we can innovate. You see, all of courage, innovation to move forward. So that's really great information. And you talking about, on the same kind of track. You have a coach that you are very, 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 very close with, and that coach actually interviewed you on your podcast. I love that interview. It's like one of my favorite interviews. You've done so many great ones. It's just a great one because you really talk about yourself. And he brings up the question, and I mentioned it in the beginning briefly, about the 23,000 people sales staff at sales meeting. And would you talk about that and just how that shifted the whole way of running the company the way you do? Yeah.
No, great. Of course, it's been a great moment for me as well. Great relation as well, Caroline. It was back in 2016. At the time, I was basically the head of all the sales marketing operation of the company commercially across 120 subsidiaries. And the company was embarking under Satya Nadella leadership, which of course is still wonderful, incredible. was transforming itself from a pure software company into a cloud and AI company. And, you could say, well, this is just tech to tech, right? Well, actually, what we did at the time, and Satya did with all of us in the leadership team, was to change the mission of the company. So we went from the mission coming from our founder, Bill Gates. We said, one day, there will be a PC in every desk, in every home, which carried us for 40 years. I'm a strong believer, by the way, into mission, true mission. Mission will lead. And we shaped a new mission at the time in 2016. We said, which still is actually, it's about we empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. That was the starting point of the change, the mindset of our people. Because when you say that, it means, well, we're not here just to sell tech. We're here to create tools, innovation, that will enable one person at a time, one organization at a time. It could be your small, your practice, right, as an organization, to the largest companies in the world and governments to achieve more. And my task as a head of sales globally was to transform the mindset of 35,000 sellers who were basically, I don't want to seem too pejorative at all, because I respect those guys so much, selling licenses of software to large contracts to customers, into becoming their basically digital advisor in their own transformation. This is like 180 degrees shift in terms of the conversation, in terms of being more of a challenger, having a challenger mindset, as we call it as well, being able to push and learn and help and advise our customers in the way they could use technologies to achieve more against their mission. It means you need to learn so much about the industry, the business, where they have to achieve their own values and all of that. And so, long story short, because it's been actually an HBR business case, which has been winning the top case last year, I was told. What I did, I decided, of course, to retrain, reskill our 35,000 people on tech, on industry. But the most important investment I did was to actually get my 6,000 sales managers becoming coach. And of course, I decided that I needed myself to start, because I can, it's one thing for leaders to say, go and do this, right?
Yeah.
If you're not leading by example, you don't do what you ask your people to do, I don't think it's going to go a long way. So I decided to learn from a person who's become a very good friend of me now, Michael Bungestani, who is the author of this wonderful book I recommend to all your listeners, one of the 2 best-selling books on coaching called Coaching Habits. And Michael, so I was among the 6,000 managers being trained myself with them, in the trench, doing practice and, and having feedback on the way I was doing bad or good and so on and so forth. And one day, we had a big sales convention with all the managers in the room.
Yeah.
And Michael was next to me on stage, and he did a full coaching session with me. And that coaching session, Caroline, was not scripted at all. So he was not at all. He was not prepared, which is quite unusual for executives. Usually you like, and I like myself to have, I'm not preparation. I'm someone very conscious about the work. But this one was like, okay, JP, Jean-Philippe, it's on you. And what happened is, he was actually pretty emotional for me, because he asked me, of course, he had the art of coaching people. So he asked me some very profound questions, and people could see me struggling with it. You could see me not having the answer to the big question that all the people had on their mind. And actually what happened, which was incredible at the end, I received I think 800 notes from our people in the room saying, Jean-Philippe, it's been an amazing moment for us. And because you did, we're going to do it as well. We're going to be all coach. We're going to be all applying the 3 principles, Michael. Michael, 3 principles very fast. One is being curious, being very curious, being really curious, Caroline, about that.
Wow.
The second one is being lazy, which to me was like, wow, I've got a very hard work ethic. I've worked super hard on my life. And what do you mean, Michael? Well,
I wanted to talk about that, yeah.
Lazy in the sense, if I was coaching you, right, I'm not going to respond to solve your problems, Caroline. I should not do that. And I've done that for many years of my life, because it's a good feeling. You fulfill what the people, and you move on, and you get a solution because I've done it. So it's easy. No, you want to grow the person to find the resource in themselves, to learn, to grow, which is very powerful when you do it. I think when you do it repeatedly. And the third one is often Coaching is not a once in a year kind of performance review process in a big company where you write down the good, the bad, very often not well done, by the way. It's a real-time life moment you want to capture, which I love doing. Sometimes 5 minutes to capture the wonderful things happening with someone and telling her that was amazing, and or some constructive feedback on things that didn't go well, so that they can really immerse themselves into the feedback and decide that feedback hopefully is a gift, as Melody Hobson told me on my episode. Yeah. It's a real gift with the example I gave you as well. So yeah, stop there. It was a defining moment for me in the transformation of the sales organization globally. And I can tell you it was a trigger that accelerated so many things after that.
Wow. That's incredible. I love that. So give an example of I know those sound simple, but give an example of each, if you don't mind, because I think this is really key for people, because that really is transformational in, I mean, you really got me with the lazy one, which I think you're going to get everyone, and people get the curious, but what do you mean? Give an example of each, if you don't mind.
Yeah. When he was curious, Caroline, it's really, I think to me, that encapsulates really well the core foundation of the so-called growth mindset that you know so well from Carol Dweck, of course, which is like a core, by the way, it's one of the core attributes of the culture of Microsoft. We all embark on that kind of attempt to have more of a growth mindset every day, because we all know we have a continuum between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, all of it, not black or white. All of us vary, depends to it. So curious is really about having the appetite to learn all the time. And for me, it was a relation was, and as a person who's been a sales, kind of chief sales person, right, for the company, with customers, the first thing you need to learn with customers, of course, is listen. I mean, listen really deeply. Don't talk. And of course, as a young seller, and I grew up, eventually, I got to learn that more and more. I tended to talk a lot, to tell my products. You're so proud. They are wonderful. Let me tell you what you should buy. Microsoft, Copilot, and so on and so forth. Yeah. And the reality, I changed that ratio from 80-20 to 20-80, meaning listening 80% of the time and talking maybe 20% of the time. And as you do that deeply, and of course, with your full attention, something else that you know well, where you need to clean up your mental mess to do that, as you made me actually practice your wonderful methodology. It's really about having your full awareness, attention with the other, so that you deeply listen to the key elements, the key component, the key foundations of that person, motivation for that project, for the initiative, for the huge problem they may have in their lives, in the business as well, to be actually incredibly closer to the person so that you identify the real problem. So I don't get into all the details, but Michael Budestin has a wonderful methodology with 7 questions, which are all about, many of them are all about curiosity, because as you know well, he's going to take 3, 4, 5 questions to get to the bottom of the real problem, as opposed to, Caroline, how are you doing? Doing okay, blah, blah, and then you move on and then you forget about the problem.
Exactly. I love that. So getting down, it's digging down deep and taking the 7 questions. And there's, that's very interesting, because in terms of scientific research within psychoneurobiology, you really do have to dig below the surface. And it's we're so kind of trained in that mindset of, the surface question. And it's so important to get to the bottom. And it's very common to take at least 6 or 7 or 8 questions to get to that number. So that's brilliant. And then you mentioned about the being lazy kind of thing. That second one, that's fascinating, because there is such, especially if you're a go-getter type person, if you're the business owner, the leader, so much easier to do it for the person, or to kind of set them up, or to handhold, or to, kind of give them busy work and you do all the work, That I loved how you explained that. Could you give a little bit more examples of that as well?
Yeah, I think being lazy, I could give actually some very recent example in my own life with the young social impact entrepreneur I got to coach a couple of days ago, one of the dozen I'm coaching regularly. And this young entrepreneur is called Wassim. He is living in Marseille, in the south of France. He's building right now a very exciting impact startup to help young college students in France to find their actually their vocation. What should they study as they go, to the next steps of their to higher education and so on. It's a big issue in the country, I guess in many countries as well. Many have no clue about the different jobs, disciplines, work experience. I mean, very few had experience any of that. So he's built a platform, long story short, and he was asking me a lot of questions about the way you should market it, the way you should think about solving, breaking through the problem, the market. I told Wassim, what do you think? But it wasn't just one question. It was really a series of questions about the way I was asking him to reset the context. What is the context? What is the first of all, the why you do that? And the why you think what you do is going to be relevant for those thousands of kids and students. You want to impact their lives positively with a better outcome in their career. And as we did that, we went deeper into, clarify that why and so on. Why do you think that they need or they might be interested, of course, in your solution? What does it mean for them in their lives? What do they do, et cetera? At the end of the day, it was a series of questions to get him to basically do a storytelling about actually building the solution he needed to build for his business. And I didn't do it myself. I was going, not getting to conclusion. It was more about getting him to have a dialogue with me on really finding the paths, the different options he could have and so on, to provide clarity in his mind, I guess, on what is that he had in his mind, by the way, it's what's coming from him, not from me, that he could focus on. And so at the end of the coaching call we had, he made the choice to focus on this new kind of solution as a next step, because he made that choice himself. And I think it's so important as you think through with your thoughts, as you know well, and you feel it, that you can make an informed choice that is coming from you, not from someone else.
So brilliant. In terms of anyone moving forward in their life, that curiosity so naturally leads on to getting it. It's in us. We've got that wisdom. And so you pull that out of them. So now our next question kind of bounces off that. You have changed your leadership style, and leadership is changing in business. And we kind of touched on the elements, but could you talk a little bit more? Because maybe people, I think it's just nice to have clarity on how leadership was and how it is now. Because it's such a big word. It's such a umbrella word. And I'd love us to sort of dive in and see the difference. I know you've explained how you've changed in your life, but you, in general, and then maybe some specific examples in your life more.
Yeah, first of all, to start with the world of a leader, of being a leader and leadership. In my mind, Caroline, it's not just about the big jobs, the big executives, CEOs and companies. Any one of us, as you know, can be a leader, okay? In a football team, I tend to love soccer, actually real soccer, not football. For America. In a community, in a family, in a business, in an NGO. So to me, it is a mindset. It's a mindset that starts with bring clarity to people. Bring clarity to the people. And I think that's something, actually, when you think about the older styles of leadership, there was much less attention, including myself, to be honest, to spend time explaining the why we do things, the context.
Okay.
I do believe in that. I mean, I did some of that, but certainly much less than I did the last 10 years. I'm very actually deliberate about spending a real repeated amount of time with different people on the why. Because if you the door and you give the keys to the people about your context setting, at least they can enter into the space of the discussion, as opposed to going immediately to the what, which is the problem we're going to solve. Why is the problem actually relevant for all of us in this room? Why is that? So the why is the clarity, I think, is so important, particularly at time of uncertainty. We all know it getting more and more challenging, more and more complex in the past to analyze tons of challenges. I mean, all the things that we know happening in the world. And even when you don't have the answers, which is much more often the case, by the way, for leaders, they don't have the answers. They need to have that authenticity and clarity creation first. Then I think you get into the second piece, which come back, I will not rehash what I said before on positive leadership, which is the way you can deliver a positive energy to others. I'm so much more conscious now than I was versus when I was 20, 30 years ago, about the impact I'm leaving people with after interaction with me. So when I start opening a discussion, a meeting face-to-face or Zoom, Teams, hopefully as well. I really want to make sure I'm the best prepared to provide the best outcome for both of us in this podcast or in different discussions and so on, so that the positive energy propagates across the world to you, Caroline, and then you get it for the next hours of your meeting, maybe, or maybe for the end of the day, who knows? And the other one is to deliver the success of the people or of what you do together, the outcome, because that positivity as well, and the way you spend a lot more time again, listening, caring, contextualizing, and then getting the people to bring their best is super powerful. And to give you contrast, when I was a younger manager leader, I was a lot more into the what. I was all about, I've been always caring for people. I love people, so I've been respectful and always committed to their development and so on and so forth. But it was a lot, hyperscaleization, Microsoft scaling across the world, intense, with a lot of stuff, innovation coming every week, literally. I was more into not into a rush, but into saying, this is a to-do list for you guys. That's what you're going to do. And here are the KPIs, and you got the red, the yellows, and the orange. That's bad. That's good. That's other. And then move on, and you have to execute now. And then we'll come back and really keep the scores, right? and I realized that this is not fulfilling for people, for sure not. And even if I was encouraging people, rewarding them, of course, as well, I was not like a bad guy first thing. But I was much more into the top-down thing, into the execution chain, without considering the most important piece, which is the human piece of success. And if you don't build that trust, the ability for people to bring their best, you're going to lose at the end. I think in 2014, this year, and more than ever, last 2 years, there's no way for a leader of any organization in the world, I think, to continue to just be managing top-down all the time. And as I said that, I realized that you cannot be a coach all the time as well. There's a moment as well, you need to be assertive as well. Yes, indeed. And I keep doing that as well from time to time, just to be clear. Just like the growth mindset. Sometimes I'm more on a fixed mindset. Okay, guys, this is what we're going to do now. But I've changed also and expanded my kind of tool set to be a lot more, I would say much more diverse in my approach to leadership and coaching.
I like that. So what I'm hearing you say, and I'm going to summarize this because I think it's incredibly powerful. The leader is not just of a massive organization. We're all leaders. We each bring something to the table that someone else doesn't bring. And as a leader, it's really important that we look at the why of our company, not just the what. And then to bring a balance so that brings in the humanity aspect, it brings in that relationship aspect, it brings in that authenticity, the vulnerability, which is so important because the old approach is, I'm the leader, I'm in charge, I know everything, I never make any mistakes.
Exactly.
Versus, hey, listen, I know I'm in charge, but I do make mistakes, and there's something you can do that I can't do, so therefore I'm drawing on your skills, etc., etc. And then there's also this balance that we have to bring. So yes, you are the leader, so you are driving a process, but you're recognizing that it's more like, as opposed, as you say, instead of top down, it's more circular with you in the middle.
Exactly.
And drawing on all. Have I understood you correctly?
Absolutely correct, Carl. I think this is more of a community of people coming together. Of course, with some leadership kind of vibes coming from one or a few people. You don't need to be the leader all the time, by the way, because as you lead the room, hopefully, there's many other leaders that have the confidence and the courage to do more and expand it as well.
Great. Okay, so let me give you a little scenario and ask you for advice, because I think you're one of the best coaches. And every time I listen to you, I learn something. So let's say that you're in that situation like you were so many years ago where that person brought you in and spoke about the smile. What happens if you've got to talk to someone who's a very valuable part of your company or your organization or whatever it is that you're running, foundation or whatever, and they do great work, but they did do something that's slightly out of line, and which is also normal because we all make mistakes. So as the leader, how do you... and you know that person is potentially, I'm just creating a scenario, that person is potentially maybe very sensitive and they're very proud of their work, but they don't take criticism very well, which is also pretty common. How do you, as a great leader that's also vulnerable and balanced and courageous and innovative, positive leadership, all these things, how would you handle a situation like that? Is that enough information to just...
Oh, that's enough, plenty enough, because I can relate to many of the scenarios in my life.
Great.
Well, first of all, I would say, Carl, of course, it would be different between someone you know already versus someone you don't know, right? So if I take someone at least I know I've been working with for some time, as opposed to someone I've never known, right? And I meet for the first time, but something kind of shocking happens, and I believe that I probably need to help that person, tell what's going on. So I would say there are situations, because secondly, there will be some nuances in the ability to provide feedback the same way. Number one, I've learned over the past many years, indeed, that most managers in the world hate to give feedback. They hate to give feedback because when it's not positive, okay, or when it's positive, it's usually to show great work, fantastic, a couple of big exclamation points. No, I think what you need in such situation you describe, you need to obviously dissociate the person from the situation itself. First of all, to make sure that the person, then you come back to the person understands this is not going to be about a personal attack against her or against him. It's going to be about a situation that you can describe in a detailed way. The more you can be specific about the situation, about what happened, that you witnessed, and where, and make the person understand what that means for you and for some others who are maybe observers or part of the dialogue that didn't go well. And again, we didn't get through the value end to end. But let's say the person didn't behave well in some situation, maybe lack of respect, something else. And you want to bring that level of precision about what others and yourself have felt in a direction, the way it's landed with you, the way you receive it on the receiving end, so that the person understands actually, and in many cases, actually, many people don't realize the impact, the negative sometimes impact they can have on others. Words, the behaviors, the attitudes, the body language. Before I think about my smile, right? And I think it's critical to have a discussion which is really about what happened. What does it mean for others? And then come back to the person, what does it mean for you? And then have more of a coaching discussion with the person as much as you can about, okay, if you realize and stop to agree, and it may take some time. Sometimes you have to come back 2 or 3 times because some of the feedback can be really core, right, to the person as well. Then you can get a person to reflect and write, which is part of your 5 steps in your cycle, by the way. Well, I always believe personally that feedback is something you also need to write down from time to time with specificity, because when you read that as well, it's something that you can really decide to reflect on as a receiver of that. And then you can decide to work on it or not. And what happened then when you do that, the person see that you're not here to destroy the person. You're not here to basically stop a career unless something really unacceptable happens. Of course, sometimes really tough red lines can, for sure, there will be always exceptions to that. But otherwise, it means that the person has an opportunity to learn from that and has an opportunity to offer to him or her to develop and grow. And then, of course, depending on the depths of the problem and so on, of course, there will be different paths. So I'm not good at all that. But I've done that a number of times in my life. And it's amazing the number of times people told me, really, this is the first time I received that feedback. And after sometimes longer discussion, coming back to me, even sometimes days, weeks after, saying, it's been such a blessing in a way to get that feedback.
Wow.
To understand what it means for me. And not that I'm I'm the best at that. I keep learning on the way to do that because every person is different, as you know, Caroline. So the way you pick your words, the way the tone, the way you approach it is very, very subtle. But it's something that deserves a lot of attention, because not giving the feedback for people to grow, I think is almost a crime, because you let people, in a situation where they cannot have the opportunity to grow and be different.
That's incredibly good advice, because it's, as you say, a summary. It's hard for managers to do it because it's much nicer to give good feedback than
always.
You don't know how the person's going to respond, and the response that they have, even though you're the leader, will have an impact on you. It's unavoidable, and no one likes those sensations. And so then, and the other side, if I'm hearing you correctly, is to recognize that, that's the first thing. And then the second thing is to separate it from make sure that they don't, and they understand it's not a personal attack on them as a person. It is on the situation that happened, and it's just a matter of them adjusting or dealing or learning something new, that kind of thing. So that separation is extremely important. And then obviously
Very important.
For each person. No, that's really good advice. Thank you for that. Okay, I wanted to ask two more, if you're okay with some more time, I'll have to ask you two more questions. I'd love to ask you 100 more questions, but we'll start with two. The inevitable AI, and I know that this is something that you're really interested in because it's something to discuss, and I'd love to just to give a little bit of a talk about how do you see AI? How do we keep it safe? How do we keep it regulated? How do we apply this in industry? Where's it going? I know it's early days, and you know the answers, but I know you very well. You understand this really well and have some tremendous insight. So I'd love to hear your opinion.
Yeah, it's obviously a huge opportunity. Yeah, we say huge opportunity. Before people say it's a huge issue as well. I'm an optimist, So I would,
as well, I agree with you. I think it's a fantastic opportunity.
Yeah. So, in my 40 years plus in tech, I would say this is the most amazing set of innovation happening so fast. And again, as I said before, I started with the PC was born, and here we are 40 years later with generative AI.
Yeah.
My first advice to people is get into it, use it, train it, correct it, get mad at your Copilot or ChatGPT, but use it. Form your own opinion by using it. Don't just talk about it. Don't just look at the gossips or the headlines. It's going to kill humanity. It's going to do this and that. Do it. That's my first opinion. The second one, and he said that AI and what we call responsible AI should be all about really revealing human agility and enabling everyone to grow as well, by the way, and to do more in their jobs and also in their lives. We can come back to that. Actually, your profession as well. We discuss a little bit that together because I know you are into it as well, Caroline. And so as a tech company, Microsoft, we are, of course, around the table with many other policymakers, governments across the world, the US, Europe, Asia, and other places, to really implement what we call responsible AI. What is it? Well, it's creating the foundational tools and technology to enable anyone building AI. Because, by the way, this is not just OpenAI and Microsoft building AI. All companies, I know you are building your own AI for your patients, right? So all of us, and you're going to be confronted, with what is called responsible AI. And the foundations are security and privacy. That's the base. If you don't have that as a foundation, the rest doesn't matter anymore. Then you go into actually inclusion. Well, it's all about the discussion happening about biases of AI. Actually, the reality is humans are biased. We are biased.
We are.
The bias start with that we program into AI because it's people like us who have those beliefs. And that's people should never understand. This is the machine. Well, the machine was programmed by human, by the way, okay? So understanding the way...
Yeah.
Yeah, to understand the way you create inclusive, diverse teams to make sure that when you create your AI models, they are included and you are including people, communities, whatever it is. The third aspect is fairness. Wow, that's a big philosophical, almost a politic question as well. What is fairness? And depending on the salary of what you do, you've got to decide where you move the cursor or not, and you do that. And last one, you got transparency as well, but you spend the models. And last one is really accountability. Right? All of us who develop or build an AI models will have to be accountable for AI models. It's a big question. It means that we'll have to be responsible for the indications of using the model for the people, for the businesses, for the citizens, etc. So that's a framework outlined in terms of responsible AI. But in terms of opportunity for people, it's pretty amazing. And not just in your area. I do believe, actually, and I was discussing with Martin Seligman, as you know, the godfather of psychology on my podcast, 9 months ago. Martin has been developing with some Chinese student, basically kind of a copilot called Ask Martin. And he was himself blown away by the quality of the response, because you've got hundreds of incoming emails. I'm sure you do the same from people who read his books and come from. And now he's been able to, automate with his voice and tone many of those responses.
Amazing.
And it's just the beginning, but yes. And so I'm just giving that example because to me that really, it really tells a big story. And the last example we give is, if you have not seen this video from Sal Khan, from the Khan Academy, with his son on YouTube, you can find it. It's wonderful. He's using the latest version, again, of ChatGPT on Microsoft Cloud as well, and our AI fabrics, to have his son, I think he's 12, 13 years old, actually being tutored, mentored by AI to solve a problem. But exactly the way I was talking about coaching, the AI is not giving his son the answers because now coach AI and ChatGPT to say, don't give the answers, give you some nudges on where to go, what to think. And then you see the interaction, which is wonderful. For 2 minutes videos, you should see it. And he show you can grow, a kid can grow in interaction with a tutor with AI. And as I discussed with him about trigonometry, the trigonometry problem, I put it to calculate that.
Oh, well, I haven't seen that. I'm definitely going to definitely watch that. Well, that's a fantastic answer. Now I'd love to transition over to your foundation, which is a big passion and was inspired by your son, Gabriel.
Yeah.
You share that with us. Very beautiful.
Yes. So Live for Good is a foundation I created with my family, my wife, my 2 daughters, back in late 2015. And we did in memory of our son, late son, Gabriel. Gabriel was 20 years old when he left. But Gabriel had created a wonderful, Gabriel, first of all, had wonderful values. In many ways, I'm learning from his legacy as a dad. And his values were that he felt was young, even younger than 22, that he was so privileged. Indeed, he was privileged in the sense that being part of my household, his daughters, he had everything he needed, right, to accomplish whatever he wanted. But his obsession had been since early in his childhood to positively help others, and others were less privileged in different ways. And he did a trip in Malaysia with Habitat for Humanity, as you know, this big NGO in the US, building houses for Malaysia. And he did it a couple of weeks. And when he came back in France, he coded a website called Live for Good to raise some money. And we, as a family, of course, there's no words. There's no words. I have not found words, many years after, to try to shape a new horizon for the family, because we are like 5, fingers in a hand, and then one of the fingers missing, and the rest of the hand is almost dysfunctional. And each one of the fingers, of course, has a different journey, because as a dad, as a mom, as a sister, all of the wonderful experiences with Gabriel and memories. And we decided to give us a North Star, to create a foundation where we could help many more youth in our country, in France, who wanted to have positive impact in the world, to get their dream to become a reality by becoming what is called impact entrepreneurs. This is a new movement happening not just in France, globally, which is wonderful.
Yeah,
it's about not just young people, but particularly the new generation is amazing, who don't just want to create a startup to be cool, rich, and famous, right? But they really want to have a meaning in their life, and they want to make a positive impact in the world, whether it's for environment, social issues, responsible fashion. You've got all kind of creativity, incredible. And that's been the core foundation reason why we set the foundation, Carla.
It is beautiful. First of all, there are no words, and there never will be. And there's only time creates space. It doesn't heal. So my greatest and deepest love and sympathy. And thank you for transferring that energy and love into helping others, which is the legacy that you continue. So the transition is always there. Gabriel's transition is always there, and the impact is always there. And that is very, very, very beautiful that you can do that. And it's very exciting for me to hear that.
Thank you. I must say it is my force in myself that helps me carrying the rest of my life as well with that in mind. And that's why I've been also practicing positive leadership. You understand that why now as well, to make sure I could really bring the best of what I can do, of course, for others in the world, while capturing some moments of joy in my life as well, for me and others. Because I definitely want to look for moments of joy, of love and fulfillment. And I know I had to work a lot on my mind to do that, by the way. As you know well, it's not something that you solve easily. And anyway, so that's the reason why it's shooting my life. Yeah.
Well, I can understand it feeling your life, and I can understand the grief of, your grief steals a lot of joy, and you have to have purpose and hope. And for me, it's just so incredibly courageous and innovative of you to have taken that experience, your life experience, and to turn this into something that will give joy to other people. And I want to thank you for that, because it's very inspiring and helpful to me as well in so many ways. And one day we'll share that. And when we have more time, there's so many other things, and I'd love to have you back on. But this has been beautiful. And thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for what you're teaching all of us. I honestly learn something from you all the time. So thank you for being on this show, and thank you for just everything you do.
Thanks so much, Rowan. It's been, again, a delight, and I've been learning so much, even for your questions again today, for your books, which I recommend to anyone as well. Check out our episode together as well, and vice versa.
Absolutely. It's been amazing. Well, thank you, and I look forward to part 2.
With pleasure.